Hello, fellow explorer. Welcome to our channel, Squitus. Today, we're talking about the biggest mystery of all. Even AI can't figure out the two faces of human behavior. So, let's dive into the data and try to figure out what's really going on. The mystery of human behavior. Science still can't crack it. Despite huge jumps in psychology and neuroscience, there are still countless behaviors that baffle even the most seasoned experts. Why do we sometimes act against our own best interests? Seriously, why did I just eat that whole bag of chips? Why do we sabotage great relationships or compulsively consume foods we know are bad for us? These questions don't just scratch the surface, they delve into the very essence of what it means to be human. We're going to explore some compelling case studies and neuroscientific experiments that show just how perplexing our actions really are. We're unpacking everything from addiction to procrastination. As we journey through these mysteries, you might find that understanding these confusing patterns won't just enhance your knowledge, it could also lead to a deeper understanding of yourself. Stay tuned as we dissect real-life scenarios that demonstrate how bizarre and yet how utterly human our instincts can be. The logic versus instinct paradox, when reason isn't in control. It's midnight. You open the fridge. You know you shouldn't, but your hand moves anyway. That's the moment logic loses its crown and instinct quietly takes over. What happens when our reasoning mind collides with the raw, wordless pull of instinct? This hidden struggle unfolds every day, shaping decisions both small and life-changing. You've probably felt it, moments where everything made sense on paper, yet something deep inside pushed you in a different direction. Psychologists have long studied this internal conflict. In one well-known experiment, people who followed their gut made quicker and often more accurate choices than those who thought too hard, showing that instinct sometimes outsmarts logic. It's as if a part of the brain recognizes patterns long before the conscious mind can explain them. Maybe that sudden chocolate craving isn't weakness at all. Maybe it's your body's way of whispering, "You need comfort now." So, what's really guiding us? Are we just creatures of habit, replaying ancient survival codes? Or is there a deeper kind of wisdom buried inside our irrational urges, one that logic can't fully understand? Perhaps the real secret isn't choosing one over the other, but learning how to let them dance together. Logic draws the map, instinct decides the journey. And when you start paying attention to this quiet war within, you begin to see how much of your life is shaped not by reason alone, but by something older, faster, and far more mysterious. The brain's hidden programming. Why we repeat the unexplainable. Ever catch yourself in a loop of behavior that seems counterproductive? Hitting refresh on social media even though you just checked it. Recent studies suggest that our brains are wired for repetition, making it challenging to break free from familiar but harmful habits even when fully aware of their negative consequences. We'll examine neural pathways and how they reinforce behaviors over time, creating a cycle that is hard to escape. How much of our behavior is instinctual and how much is a learned response? As we venture through captivating examples, from compulsive shopping to using social media excessively, consider this. You open your phone just to check one message. A few minutes later, you're lost in endless scrolling, unaware of how much time has passed. Each scroll delivers a tiny hit of dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, training your mind to crave that next post, even when you promised yourself to stop. It's the same loop that drives someone to keep buying things they don't need, chasing the short burst of satisfaction that quickly fades. Emotions as ancient code, the evolution behind irrational acts. Have you ever acted on impulse, only to regret it later? Who hasn't sent an email too quickly, right? Emotions aren't just reactions. They are survival mechanisms rooted deeply in our ancestors' day-to-day struggles. Understanding emotions as ancient codes provides a lens through which we can analyze our current behaviors. We'll explore how fear, Joy and anger shape decisions, prevent us from rational thought, and push us towards sometimes irrational choices. Emotions like fear once kept our ancestors alive, triggering fight or flight in dangerous situations. Joy helps strengthen social bonds that ensured survival, while anger motivated action against threats. But in the modern world, these same emotions can misfire. Fear turns into anxiety before presentation. Anger erupts over a minor disagreement, and joy becomes tied to digital validation. By seeing emotions through this evolutionary lens, we begin to understand why they still hold such power over us. They're ancient codes running in modern systems, often overriding logic to serve instincts that once meant life or death. When memory, fear, and desire hijack our decisions. Memory, fear, and desire can collide in unpredictable ways, often leading us to make choices that defy logic. This segment invites you to explore how these powerful forces can hijack our decision-making processes, making us prisoners of our past experiences. Through captivating narratives and real-world examples, we'll see how our memories shape our fears and how those fears can lead us to irrational desires. Ever made a choice based on a traumatic memory or desired something that led to regret? It happens to the best of us. Discover how understanding these aspects can help you reclaim control over your decisions. When these forces interact, the brain's emotional centers, especially the amygdala and hippocampus, can override logical thinking. A fearful memory may distort how we see current situations, while desire floods the brain with dopamine, pushing us toward quick gratification. Over time, this tug-of-war shapes the way we react, decide, and even define what we think we want. Midpoint check-in. Are we really as rational as we think we are? This midpoint check-in offers a moment to reflect on what we've uncovered so far. Are we truly the rational beings we often perceive ourselves to be? Or are we walking contradictions, fueled by instincts? Spoiler alert, probably the latter. Many classic psychological studies suggest that our rationality is often an illusion. Experiments like the framing effect show how the same information, worded differently, can completely change our choices. The famous marshmallow test reveals how impulse control varies depending on early life experiences and emotional conditioning. Even when we believe we're thinking logically, hidden biases and emotional memories quietly steer our decisions. Try answering these questions. When was the last time you changed your mind? And what made you do it? How often do you justify an emotional choice with logical reasoning afterward? Are your instincts really intuition or just patterns from past experiences? If you stripped away fear and habit, what choices would you make differently today? The human loop. Why we keep doing what we know we shouldn't. Why do we keep repeating behaviors we know are harmful? This exploration looks into the human loop, the ongoing cycle of knowledge, action, and consequence that keeps us trapped in familiar, self-defeating patterns. Cognitive dissonance plays a huge role here, that uncomfortable tension between what we know and what we actually do. It shows up in small moments, like eating junk food while promising to eat healthy, and in bigger ones, like staying in toxic relationships long after we realize the damage. Our brains are wired to seek comfort, even when that comfort costs us in the long run, because comfort is just easier, right? Through real-life stories and psychological insights, we uncover how awareness and intention often clash with our routines. It's one thing to know better. It's another to act differently when emotions and habits take over. Understanding this loop is the first step towards breaking it. By recognizing the triggers, the thoughts, emotions, or situations that set the cycle in motion, we can begin to interrupt it. Small shifts in awareness can open the door to healthier, more empowered choices. It all comes down to this: the mind seeks safety, the heart seeks change, and our daily lives unfold somewhere between the two. The spark of consciousness. What makes us defy our own biology? What allows humans to rise above instinct, to choose meaning over impulse? Consciousness, the invisible force that lets us challenge even our deepest biological drives. By blending philosophy and neuroscience, we uncover how self-awareness empowers the mind to override automatic behavior. Think of it this way. Your brain is built to react first and reflect later. It's designed for survival, not fulfillment. But through self-awareness, you gain the power to step outside that reflexive loop. You start noticing your impulses before they take over, the urge to lash out, procrastinate, or repeat an old pattern. That tiny pause between thought and action is where transformation begins. Neuroscientists call it metacognition, the mind's ability to observe itself. Philosophers call it the watcher within. Whatever you name it, that moment of awareness is what allows you to choose growth over comfort and purpose over habit. Consciousness is not just awareness, it's rebellion, the ability to pause, reflect, and rewrite the script nature handed us. Sometimes just knowing why we act is enough to change how we act. Recognizing this spark within you can reshape every choice, freeing you from patterns written in your biology and guiding you toward a more intentional, self-directed life. The unsolvable wonder. Maybe being human isn't meant to be explained. Despite all the science, psychology, and philosophy we've uncovered, there remains something beautifully elusive about why we feel, act, and dream the way we do. As we gather every thread, the instincts that drive us, the emotions that shape us, the choices that define us, we start to see humanity not as a puzzle to be completed, but as a living work of art. Our contradictions, flaws, and unpredictable impulses are not glitches in the system. They're the brushstrokes that make the portrait real. Even science, for all its brilliance, has its limits. There's a certain magic in what cannot be measured. The sudden rush of love, the ache of nostalgia, the courage to hope. Trying to explain it all might strip away the very wonder that makes life meaningful. So maybe the goal isn't perfect understanding. Maybe it's acceptance. To stand before the mystery of our own mind and say, I don't fully understand myself, and that's okay. This reflection invites you to cherish both the absurd and the miraculous parts of being human, because in the end, it's our contradictions, not our logic, that make us alive. If you enjoyed this topic with us, show your support by hitting that like button, sharing this video with a fellow explorer, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to join our growing crew of explorers. Until then, have a great day and keep seeking out new answers.